Okay, in this video we're going to actually run a couple events in a meet and show some of the possibilities that we may run into on the run screen. Again, the run screen, you get to it just by clicking on the run menu right here, and then it'll pop you into a run screen. Now you can already look and see that something's a little different than normal than what you might see in your screen. And so there's a couple setup things that we should probably do in order to make things look more like what we'd like to see. One of these is we don't really need to see splits up here in the top right because we're not using automated timing that can actually get splits. So let's go to the preferences menu here and do run screen. And we don't need to replace records with splits. So that now we want to see the records instead. There you go. Now we can see, oh, we got two event records here. We've got the College Heights record and the RSL record that we can see. The next is looking at the team scores. Let's make sure we're putting the proper team scores here. For high school, if your computer was last used in high school, it probably has it set for boys and girls instead of set for just a single team. So in that case, we can go in there and do team scores on run menu screen, and it'll give us a little dialog box in which we can uncheck male and female. Some people like to look at the male and female. It's okay to leave it checked if you want to see, oh, our boys are winning, but our girls are losing. The only one that really counts, though, is the combined score. So if we do that now, we'll see just the combined score for both teams showing up on this team score. The other thing that's a little different here is we may have a few extra columns down here where it says backup 1, backup 2, backup 3. For a year-round meet, we use automated timing, but then everyone's also using backup timers. So you might have touchpads in the pool, and then you'll have an automated stopwatch that automatically reports its time when you click the button up to the scorekeeper. And then you may also have a manual stopwatch you're using. So in a year-round meet, it'll show these backup times because the scorekeeper will do something with that to determine if everything's okay with the touchpads. We don't care. So let's go back up to our preferences and look at our run screen, and let's not show the backup times column. Here we go. And now that makes it look a little bit more like what we're used to. One other thing I like to do before I get going is go ahead and pull this up. Some of the events, the freestyle events, since we did only one single heat with all the swimmers in it, it's useful to have more room in here because you may have more than 20 swimmers in a freestyle event, and it's nice to not have to scroll down all the time and to instead be able to show all those swimmers. Okay, so imagine if Heat 1 just happened, or Heat 1 of Event 1 and Heat 2 came in, and we now have cards. So by having your scoring people, the circlers, actually, they should be sorting your cards in this order, which was determined by the seed times. So in this case, Taylor Howe had the fastest seed time, so she's showing up down here on the bottom. This is set up as slow to fast, and that's what got printed out on the program. So we'll just make up times right now for these swimmers. And then so that we can actually show a couple of the issues that we might get into in swimming. And despite having the best seed time, I guess Taylor was the slowest one in the pool this morning by 7/100ths of a second. At this point, you see as soon as you type in times for every swimmer, this changes from seeded to done. And this lights up right here to click on the score button. So if I click on the score button right now, it should print out a printout which will give me all the swimmers in order of their times and how many points they received over here. Some people like to have the scores printing out at the bottom of every page. Um, so if you like to do that, we can change that. But typically, after you do this, you're going to scan real quick and make sure the points say 5-3-1 without any gaps in it. Because if they do have a gap, then that means there's a tie that you're going to have to sort out, or a sweep. Like, for example, because Alex Beasley was a different team than both of these college heights swimmer, Izzy and Nina, then we were able to award points to all three teams. However, if all three, like if Izzy and Nina both DQ'd for some reason, then that would have all these Lake of the Woods swimmers in a row. And again, use either one of these print buttons depending on what you're trying to do. The top one prints directly to your printer. If you want a different number of copies, you can change to that. This one gives you options for doing exports or printing to a different printer. So at this point now, we're going to do something a little funky. We're going to have these two swimmers DQ'd so we can see what it looks like when we do a sweep. So at this point now, this is what a sweep looks like. You'll see 5-3 and then some blanks and then a 1. So the question is, did Lola Garvey really deserve to get that point for third place? Well, not really. She doesn't deserve the point. All we're doing is taking it away from Kylie. But the program's not quite smart enough to do that. So now we have to go into what's called Judge's Decision, JD. Click on that, and it shows the points that were awarded. And our options are putting in the number of points they should have gotten, or if we put in -1, that takes away any points they got. And then we just go ahead and rescore. And now it says 5-3, and then the rest are blank, and that's the way it should be. And then we print that out. So let's look at how we get this to print the score at the bottom. So again, most of these things are preferences. This would be results for list or score. Do we want to include team scores? Yes. We want the combined team scores? Yes. But our big question is, why aren't the team scores being printed at the bottom now? We think we have it checked right. Well, there's a clue over here. If you look at the team scores over here, it says no scores found. So there's one step that is frequently forgotten in the setup because you can't do it until after you import the entries. So it's part of setup, but you have to do it after the teams. So if we go to entry scoring preferences, we do our 2 or 3 plus double dual, and we click the red box, and we click combined, and then, click combined, and hit save. This is about the only place in the program we ever hit save, and then hit OK. Now if we go back into our run menu and score this again, now you'll see these combined team scores at the bottom, which was set by that preferences. But more importantly, you'll see the score up here that shows that the way those swimmers came in. Lake of the Woods got 5 plus 3 or 8 points.